Hi guys, Megan here from Megan and Macrame, and you guys have been asking for tutorials, specifically feather tutorials, so today that's what we're gonna do. Let's get started. So first thing, the materials you'll need. This is my new favorite thing. It's a pet brush. Obviously I've been using it with rope. I use this side. If you have a clean pet brush, that would be great, but if not, a simple comb like this from the dollar store or wherever works well as well. We will be using both of these. I tend to use both of these, but this will work on its own as well. And you'll need a pair of scissors. You will need some rope. I prefer 1-ply rope. It brushes out a lot nicer. You can also use 3-strand rope. It has that curly fringe when you unravel it, but 1-ply is my favorite. And you will also need a dowel or a piece of driftwood or whatever you're attaching it to. So I'm going to be attaching it to this driftwood. The first thing I'm going to show you is how to make the hanging part. Now making feathers for me is a lot easier to do sitting down just at a table, so you won't necessarily need to do the hanging part right away. But for today, we're going to start that because I'll be doing it hanging up. So I'm going to I measure an arm's length. So I'm going to cut about 1 arm's length of rope. And we're going to take it and we're going to do the lark's head knot. So I have shown this before. So basically you're going to take, normally you would want, if you're attaching rope, you would want to find the middle of your rope, but for this, we want to kind of find a quarter of the way through, and you'll see why. So we're going to take our loop here, we're going to put it over top of our driftwood, and we're going to stick the 2 tails through the loop. Now I will have a video tutorial on just how to do the lark's head knot. So it'll look something like that. Then we're going to take the other side and we're going to put it over top. And we're going to take the tail, bring it around the front, and then we're going to bring it around the back. Sorry, bring it around the back, and then pull it through right here. You see that? And then we're going to make it tight. And I like to tie just a simple little knot here to secure them. Like that. Then we'll do it again on the other side. Now I probably could have cut a longer piece of rope, but this will do. And that is how we're going to hang it. See that? So don't worry about the tails, we'll cut them later. And again, if you're doing this at a table, you can skip that step. You don't have to do that right now, but we're going to do that because we are doing it against a wall. So the next thing you're going to do is making the stem of the feather. Now I always eyeball it, but if you want, this is about, I will measure all this that I'm doing. I usually just guesstimate. I'm not a very technical person, but I will measure this. It is about 24 inches. And remember, when you cut your rope, you're going to be doubling this over. So don't cut just 12 inches. You want to cut double, which is 24. And then again, I'm going to do the lark's head knot. So I'm going to find the middle, put the loop over top, bring it behind, and then stick the tail through. And that is your stem for your feather. Okay, we're back. I moved to a lower spot on the wall, and you can see we're beside a feather wall hanging, just to give you some reference. So the next thing I'm going to do is I want to make my strands that I'll be brushing out to make the feather. Now this is a good length. It depends how big you want it. If the bigger you go when you brush it out, it's gonna flop. So I found a good couple inches is a nice length for it. It'll kind of still stay up a bit like this and it won't flop down too much. So that is about 2 inches. Double it over. Let's make it 10 inches. So each one will be about 10 inches. And then when you double it over, it'll be about that long. And we are going to need about 20 or 22 pieces that are 10 inches. So you can just go back and forth. If you feel comfortable, you can just cut each one individually. It's up to you. I like to just go back and forth. Okay, so I have my 20. I'm gonna cut, and then I'm gonna cut all the ends. Okay, so I have all of my, now they're not gonna be all exactly the same length, and that's okay, because once we brush it out, it's gonna get all uneven, and then we're going to trim it once we're done brushing it out. Now there's a couple ways to do a feather. You can actually just do a lark's head knot, one on that side, then one on that side, and then keep going back and forth, back and forth. I prefer a different way, so I'm gonna put you closer, because I find that the feather looks more even. You get the same kind of fringe on each side when you do this, my method. You're gonna take 2 of your strands. Now, again, this is a lot easier sitting down, so bear with me. We're gonna take 1 strand and we're gonna put it underneath. So we have a loop here and a tail here. Then we're gonna take our other strand, find our other loop, stick that underneath and through this loop here, holding it, and then taking the tail and sticking that through there. So it should look something like that. You have a tail on each side and it's kind of wrapped around each other. And then you pull tight and then adjust. And I like to pull each rope individually. So you're gonna take 2 strands, find your loops, which is the middle of each rope. Now I'm gonna do it on the other side because you have a bump right here. I want my bump to be on the other side now. So you're gonna rotate all the way down. You're gonna take your first strand and put it underneath the other way. So you have a loop and a tail, and then you're gonna stick the other loop underneath and through, and then the tail through this loop here. So you should have something that looks like that. Pull tight and then adjust. So we will do that all the way down. Okay, so we have all of our strands on and it looks kind of floppy and funny. So the next thing we're gonna do is brush it out. You can use your comb or your brush, whatever you'd like to use, whatever you have handy will work. If you're sitting at a table, it's nice to hold it. If you have a comb, it's nice to hold it and then start brushing. Now I'm holding the comb here because I don't want the brush to catch any of the middle parts, any of the stem. And if I put my finger there, it gets, the brush catches my fingers instead. So I tend to put a comb here and brush. Now, so if you are using a brush, I would go in now with a comb and get all the little pieces that the brush didn't get. Okay, that's looking good. Now I'm going to do the other side with the comb just to show you the difference. I like my brush so much better. Now I'm gonna get all the little pieces. And once you're happy with how it's brushed out, it's gonna look kind of like that. Depends how long you make your strands. Now this is the fun part. I like to do it hanging up because it is going to be hanging up eventually once you display it. So this part is messy. I usually just let everything drop to the floor and then sweep up after, but it's totally up to you what you do. So I start by trying to get everything as flat. I work on one side and then the other, trying to get as flat as I can, and then and again, it's like hair cutting or hairstyling or cutting hair. Start small because you can't go back. So I've learned that lesson way too many times. Just start small. Just start with small little trims. And you can decide how fat or how skinny you want your feather. And that's a little too fat for me, so I'm gonna go in. And it helps if you do have a nice pair of scissors. Okay, so let me kind of brush that out again. I keep brushing and then trimming and brushing and then trimming, so I'm liking that. Okay, now this side is harder for me because I'm right-handed, so I usually have to hold it up a bit. Put it down. Well, this is the cutest little feather I ever did see. I like that one. And it'll start, as you walk by it and the wind hits it, it will start to look like that, which I don't mind. I like the natural look of it. I don't necessarily want it to look perfect, but I do want to make sure it looks good. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. I like it. That looks pretty cool. That's how you do feathers. And if you wanted to add more to your dowel, you would just do that all over again. And if you're sitting down, it's helpful to just flop these over so they're out of your way when you're sitting down at the table. So I hope you guys like my first full-length tutorial video. I need to invest in a tripod for my phone. That's the next thing. But let me know how you guys liked it and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks, guys.